Hi guys, and welcome back to what is probably my last video of the year, and it's going to be my more in-depth look at the Motorola G8 Plus. Now I've had my SIM card slapped inside the G8 Plus for a few days now. Is this a phone that is worth buying in 2021, or should you just stick it straight in your rearview mirror and go for something a bit newer? Let's find out. So let's start with the design and build of the Motorola G8 Plus. Now as you can see, I've got it in this crystal pink colour, which to me looks more like sort of a deep red. And if you've watched my unboxing video, you'll know that I'm a very big fan of this colour. And although it's very reflective and may look like a glass back, this is an all plastic phone, but then that is to be expected at this budget price point. On the bottom there's a microphone, USB-C charging port and bottom fire and speaker, and then on the top of the phone you have a headphone jack and another microphone. There is also another speaker built into the earpiece, so stereo speakers at such a low price today is a great addition. And then on the right of the phone you have your textured power button and volume rocker, and on the left you have your SIM tray, which has provisions to expand via micro SD card. As for the display, you get a 6.3-inch 1080p display with a standard 60Hz refresh rate. You get a relatively slim bezel on the bottom and a teardrop notch which houses the 25-megapixel selfie camera at f2.0. This is a pretty standard display. For me, nothing to complain about, especially at this price. The 60Hz refresh rate might be an issue for some people in 2021, as there's a lot of budget phones now coming with 90Hz displays, but I think the 6.3-inch display is a nice one, especially for people with smaller hands. And I've got pretty small hands, so using a very large phone like the G60S can be difficult long term. And here is the G8 Plus side by side with the G50 and G60S, so you can see that it is a fair bit smaller than both of those devices. So in terms of the design of the phone from the back, I do really like it. Even today it does beat a lot of other phones in terms of how it looks. The back of the phone also has a fingerprint sensor, and then in the top left corner a vertically arranged triple camera system. This consists of a 48 megapixel quad pixel sensor f1.7, a 16 megapixel ultra wide dedicated video camera dubbed Action Cam with an f2.2 aperture, and a 5 megapixel depth sensor. Underneath all that is a laser autofocus sensor and LED flash. So the camera, well, this is an area that kind of disappoints, but not with the main camera. That's your typical Motorola camera. It takes nice detailed photos binned at 12 megapixels. Colours are nice and not too punchy. HDR is available on the main camera and selfie cameras, but in certain scenarios struggled to control brighter areas such as the sky, but luckily to my eyes it didn't seem to affect other areas of the photo. The same can be said on the selfie camera. The backgrounds come out blown out, showing that HDR struggles to control these areas. Detail, however, is pretty good. The 25 megapixel camera is also a quad pixel sensor, so spits out brighter 6 megapixel photos by default. When on the main camera, video tops out at 4K at 30 frames per second, while the ultra wide tops out at 1080p at either 30 or 60 frames per second. Stabilization, however, is only available at 1080p at 30 frames per second. The use of the ultra-wide camera for video unfortunately means that you can't use this camera for still photos. You can take 3 megapixel photos whilst recording, but of course these are going to be very low quality. I will be doing a video more dedicated to using the camera for photos and doing some video samples as well, so don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you know when that video goes live. The third camera, as you'll know, is for depth detection in your portrait shots, which does a good job separating the subject from the background. The main camera does have a dedicated night mode, which helps bring out more detail and control brighter areas in nighttime shots. The front camera, however, does not, so you'll have to use the display flash feature to help in this case. And as for performance, the Motorola G8 Plus comes with a Snapdragon 665 processor, which is now around 2.5 years old, but at the time of the G8 Plus release was about 6 months old. This is the same processor found in the regular G8 and G8 Power, as well as a plethora of other budget phones from around that time. Day-to-day use is fine, but you won't find stellar performance when it comes to gaming or other intensive tasks. I did notice the odd delay opening apps here and there, but nothing too bad. And as for the age of the phone, software updates are going to be few and far between. The G8 Plus is still on the old Android 10, and I don't know when or if it will be upgraded to Android 11, although oddly my G8 Power could be upgraded to Android 11. The 4000 mAh battery inside the G8 Plus is plenty to get you through a full day of moderate use, a day of really heavy use of gaming and using the camera, you may be able to drain it in a full day. I managed to finish most of my days on around 40% at about 8 p.m. after taking the phone off charge at about 6:15 in the morning, which gave me around 3.5 hours of screen on time. So it was well on the way to getting about 5 hours of screen on time, which is pretty good for this budget phone. The G8 Plus supports up to 15 watt fast charging, which is pretty mediocre in 2021. You'll get around 35% from 30 minutes of charging, and a full charge take in just over 2 hours. So that's my more in-depth look at the Motorola G8 Plus. Will I recommend it now? Well, there's nothing wrong with it per se. Both the regular G8 and G8 Power have the same processor and upgrade to Android 11. The G8 Power has a larger 5000 mAh battery and an ultra-wide camera that you can actually use for photos, and then it also has that telephoto camera as well. So personally, I would pick the G8 Power over the G8 Plus. Now of course there's all the other newer Motorola phones such as the G10, G30 and G50. Now they don't all necessarily improve in every way over the G8 Plus, but being newer they will of course be supported for longer with software updates. But let me know in the comments what you think of the G8 Plus. Have you got one? Would you consider buying one in 2021 even though it is a couple of years old? Like I said, let me know in the comments. And if you like what you see, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any future videos. And again, this is probably my last video of the year, so I'll see you next year.